I'm actually a little bit afraid to make this video, and you'll find out why maybe a third of the way through or something. I'm not sure. This is a wild story though. Well, hello everyone. It's me, Upavip. You know something real scary? Story about this fella named Indrid Cold. Little guy.
During the 1960s in West Virginia, at the same time period of the Mothman sightings, a man encountered a strange humanoid being with a disturbing grin that shook him to his core.
Something that has always piqued my interest, even as a child, has been the idea of potentially being visited by an extraterrestrial being. It all started with me watching the movie Signs. Ever seen it? I watched that movie, and I don't think I slept for 2 years after it. I don't really remember exactly what happened. It wasn't because of like anxiety or anything, but I was afraid of aliens. And now to this day, I still have dreams about getting probed hard all night.
I wanna dance
All night.
And that's what spurred the creation of this video.
The man in the car makes note of one particularly weird aspect of the creature's appearance. That of his ever-present, never-changing smile. The creature calls himself Indrid Cold.
The following video you're about to watch is about Indrid Cold, aka the Grinning Man, potentially, in my opinion at least, some of the most interesting UFO alien stories that exist. So strap in, my friends. If you want to see more content like this, press the like button down below, go to gump.club, join the Gump Club, watch uncensored videos, and get discounts on Sour Boys. Go to sour.gg, buy some candy. Every single bag helps so much, because these videos are getting really long and hard to make, and I don't like it anymore. I need more money! For real though, we release a new flavor of Sour Boys every week, or we try our best. We have like 40 employees now across the board. It's incredible. There's nothing like it on YouTube. It's a great product. Please, if you guys like candy, go support it. It's just candy. There's nothing special about it other than it being made by us, and it's like unique, cool flavors. Anyways, guys, enjoy YouTube in moderation as well as anything else. The story today begins in Marietta, Ohio, a small town at the confluence of the Ohio and Muskingum rivers. In the 1960s, Marietta had just under 17,000 residents, while Mineral Wells, Woody's home, has a mere 2,000 as of 2010. So, small city. Medium-sized, kind of big city almost, in some ways. Still quite rural though, important to remember. These two towns are connected by forested roads that wind past the outskirts of Parkersburg, a city nearing 30,000 residents today. As Mr. Derenberger passed Parkersburg, West Virginia burger in early November 1966 while driving on the quiet Interstate 77. Once again, it was very quiet. It was a quiet night on that night in early November 1966.
10 people died in the Bronx last night due to a fire that killed 10 people in the Bronx last night during a fire.
The road was empty and there were no motorists when suddenly he noticed a set of headlights speeding at him in the rearview mirror, speeding at an unreasonable speed, a disturbing speed. His heart raced as he kept an eye on the strange vehicle gaining on him. A vehicle that at first he believed to be a speeding car, as anyone would. But then, as Woody checked his mirrors, the vehicle would vanish without a trace, leaving an unsettling silence. Then, a loud humming sound filled the air, a deep it vibrated his entire truck. The lights had disappeared, and I'm sure Woody's mind was racing with questions, guys. Was his mind playing tricks on him? What the happened? Before he could comprehend, the vehicle reappeared, this time directly in front of his car.
And just before I came to the intersection of Route 47, there was a car past me, overtaking me from behind, and following closely behind this car was this unidentified flying object. And as the car ahead, or the car behind passed me, this object was following close behind it, and it swerved directly in front of my truck, turning crosswise.
The vehicle was close, but not close enough that he needed to slam on the brakes. Instead, he was able to come to a controlled stop, ABS stop. The mysterious vehicle hovered above the road, casting an otherworldly glow. Hey guys, it's starting to sound like a alien! Sorry guys. Sometimes I have outbursts whenever I get excited about things. Woody described this craft, aka vehicle, later as looking like an old-fashioned kerosene lamp chimney, flaring at both ends, narrowing down to a small neck, and then enlarging in a great bulge in the center. like a, you know, like one of these things. I mean, it's kind of weird looking. It's kind of bizarre. I wouldn't have a car that looked like that. It was unlike anything old Woodrow had ever seen. As Woody sat there on the floor, a door on the side of the vessel slowly opened, and out stepped a man appearing to be in his mid to late 40s, dressed in dark colored clothing. Woody remembers that the man's presence was unnerving, and there was something profoundly off about him. Though exactly what was causing the stirring feeling of discomfort wouldn't become clear until the figure approached Mr. Woody. Sorry, Mr. Beringheimer Burger, or whatever the As this man began to walk towards Woody's truck, the door of the craft closed and it began to float upwards, disappearing into the night sky, leaving behind the man. All right, guys, what the That's probably one of them Yukons, them Chevy Yukons. Them things been known to do that. That's no otherworldly craft. That's just a 1999 Chevy Yukon, available at your local auto bargain store for $941, not including tax and tags. As the man reached Woody's door, he noticed that he had an extremely wide smile with all of his teeth prominently showing, and this is where you guys are going to start to find some level of familiarity with this story. This is Indrid Cold, aka the Smiling Man, one of the most disturbing unknown creatures, people, mysteries that exists, in my opinion. There's nothing scarier than someone happy, someone joyous. Specifically in this story we're talking about today, the smile was unnatural. It was too wide, too fixed. It was like someone had been told how to smile, how to form a smile, but they didn't know what a smile should look like. As the man approached Woody's vehicle, he gestured to have the window rolled down. Woody obviously complied. As the window rolled down, Woody prepared himself for what was about to happen. Nothing could have prepared him, though, to be honest, because the man's smile remained as he communicated to Woody. He communicated telepathically. He said, "Why are you frightened? We mean you no harm. Why are you frightened? Why are you frightened? We mean you no harm." The words echoed in Woody's mind, clear as day yet unspoken by the smiling man. The man introduced himself as Indrid Cold from planet Lanulos. This foreigner continued to communicate, asking about the lights in the distance and inquiring about Parkersburg.
They took our jibs! They took your jibs!
They took your jibs! Took your jibs!
Woody explained that Parkersburg was a city, a place of business where many people lived, and Indrid, for some reason, decided to interject here and respond that on his planet, cities were called gatherings. That's cringe. All right, Indrid, that's weird.
Woody heard the words and understood them, but the man's mouth didn't move. He just kept on smiling like this. The man asked Woody his name and said he's called Cold, and he was a searcher from the planet Lanulos. Then Mr. Cold asked Woody some mundane questions about the town they were in, what kind of work Woody did, and basic small talk. And after a few minutes of friendly conversation, Mr. Cold said telepathically that he had to be going.
Their conversation, although brief, was incredibly bizarre and surreal, and to be honest, if that would happen to me, I would have shit myself. I would have shit in my pants, and I would have gotten taller because of the shit underneath my ass on the seat of the vehicle.
My God. It must be over 100 Kuriks!
Indrid's calm demeanor was incredibly unsettling and contrasted sharply with the circumstances.
Derenberger tells us that he was so afraid that he wasn't able to look Cold in the eyes, and that several times Cold requested that he look at him.
According to Woody, he seemed genuinely interested in learning about Earth, yet there was an unsettling undertone to his curiosity, something uncanny. Woody couldn't shake the feeling that he was being studied, like an insect under a magnifying glass. The conversation between Indrid and Woody only lasted a few minutes, but Cold reassured Mr. Woodrow that they would meet again soon. With that, he turned and walked back towards his hovering vessel, the 1999 Yukon. The craft descended a small bit, the door opened, Cold stepped inside, went, and then he went, or whatever. That's what I like to imagine. It actually made no sound at all.
After the interaction was over, Cold was said to have bid Derenberger goodnight, but not before telling him, "We will see you again." He then boarded his spaceship, where Derenberger claimed to have seen the outline of another man in the doorway of the craft. With that, the spaceship ascended, and for the most part, that is where the mysterious tale ends.
Yes, so the vehicle lifted into the sky and disappeared as mysteriously as it had appeared. All right, guys. Woody, shaken up, sat in his truck for a few minutes and then drove home immediately, calling the police to report the strange encounter. The next day, Woody was interviewed by local media, where he provided more details about his bizarre experience.
Mr. Derenberger has a very interesting story to tell us this evening. I will give you a thumbnail sketch to begin with, Whether or not you believe in unidentified flying objects or not is not the point.
During the interview, Woody emphasized that Indrid never moved his mouth and communicated with him telepathically.
This was all mental. There was no spoken words from him. I knew what he was asking me, but yet he stood there and his mouth did not move. He had a smile on his face. He appeared very courteous and friendly.
Which is crazy. I mean, that's not something that happens, I don't think. It was obviously this detail that fascinated and unsettled interviewers because it's like magic stuff, you know, and doesn't really make a lot of sense in our current understanding of how things work and how people talk to each other. Woody, given the opportunity, also described the ship in greater detail. He said it was charcoal colored and shone in his truck's headlights.
This object was between a real dark gray and black. I would call it a charcoal color. It glistened in my headlights. My headlights, when it stopped me, my headlights were shining directly on it.
But it had no lights or windows.
Were there lights in it?
No, I see no lights of any kind. There was no lights in it.
There were windows.
If there was windows, I couldn't detect them. I couldn't see them.
The craft was 30 to 35 feet long. It blocked the entire two-lane highway and hovered about 8 to 10 inches off the ground at its lowest point.
And I would say it was approximately 30 to 35 feet long, and it came directly across past my truck and immediately turned sideways. It was completely crossed the two-lane highway. It completely blocked me. I went partly off of the road onto the berm to try to go around it, but I couldn't get around it.
And while Cold spoke to Woody, he occasionally glanced at the ship after it had risen once Cold got out, where it was hovering 50 to 75 feet above the ground before it later descended to collect Mr. Cold, and then went.
Occasionally, as I was talking to this man, I looked up and it was still there. It was approximately 50 to 75 feet off of the ground, and it stayed there all the time this man was talking to me.
Later, Woody likened the sound of the ship to that of a helicopter.
Well, if you've ever heard the blades of a helicopter as it was idling, sitting on the ground, that would be the closest way that I could describe the noise it made.
He even mimicked the noise somewhat in a comical manner during the interview.
Can you make a noise that it sounded like?
It was a fluttering noise. It sounded something like...
But it's a sound you have never heard before.
I had never heard anything like it before in my life.
This is really creepy. I hope this is all fake. This is all real, by the way, not from a movie, just in case you guys were wondering. This is all legitimate. This is all interview. This is what happens back home in West Virginia. You ever been to Appalachia? Yeah. You ain't seen shit like this unless you have. Woody also described Cold's appearance meticulously. He had a top coat zipped down from the front, a shiny metallic outfit with a darker shirt and a cloth pant. Man, this guy had style!
He had a top coat on, and it was zippered down the front. His top, the top two buttons, like my coat here, were open, and this outfit was a shiny material. It was a glassy outfit, like it was metallic, I suppose you would call it. And his shirt was a little bit darker than his jacket.
And apparently Cold's skin was tan.
His face looked like he had a good tan, a deep suntan. He was not too dark, but it was just like he had been out in the sun a lot and had a good tan.
His hair was brown and it was combed straight back, and he had very normal features. Almost too normal, like normal Bob, or whatever that SpongeBob with the smooth. Is it normal Bob? Well, hi there. Hi, how are you? Or however he says. He's just a regular ass Midwesterner from Minnesota or Iowa or something like that.
Tom, how are you?
This guy just looks so normal that it freaked poor Woody out. And I don't blame him. Whenever I see normal looking people, I get freaked out too and I start hitting them. A good analogy is a similar one to the smile. The bizarre nature of the smile. It looked like someone was told what a smile might be and was told to mimic that. It's like, this is what a human probably looks like. This is what you should probably look like. Every single thing about Indrid, from his smile to his features to his sick fit, would fall into the uncanny valley. By the way, the uncanny valley is this. It's pretty cool. If you don't know, you probably always hear people talking about the uncanny valley. This is what it is. It's pretty unique. Now, this all seems very far-fetched and unbelievable, especially in the 1960s in Ohio and West Virginia. The interviewer himself even asked Woody if he drank, trying to find some kind of logical explanation for at least some of this. A bizarre, surreal tale.
You drink?
No, I do not drink.
You don't drink intoxicating beverages?
No, I do not drink any intoxicating beverages at all. I don't believe in drinking, and I just don't.
Woody, as we all hoped, insisted that he was sober, implying that the encounter was real and not a figment of an altered mind. The man is on the straight and narrow.
Get Dare in your kid's school too.
And this is real. Hey guys, I believe it. And you should too. Near the end of this really strange interview, Woody mentioned that he believes others must have also seen the conversation, as during the encounter, vehicles were passing by on the highway.
But no one slowed down or
no one
paused
slowed down.
Like but they would have easily been able to see him.
Yes, they
Do you
could have
suppose
seen.
maybe somebody in our audience might have passed you last evening, standing there talking with this fellow?
I know that there was several cars past me, and one car, as this thing settled down in front of me, was coming to meet me. And when this thing was directly in front of me, this car came to meet me. And his headlights it was in a kind of a curve. This guy came to meet me, would be making a left-hand curve, and his lights would be shining off to the right. But I still think that he could have seen and probably did see.
So there was witnesses that night on 77 outside of Parkersburg. So Woody has this crazy experience with this man named Indrid, goes immediately on the local news and is interviewed. After the interview was broadcast, Woodrow Derenberger's life changed dramatically. He became a local hero, a local celebrity, and the story gained widespread popularity. People were seeking him out from around the world, bombarding him with questions, desperate to understand his otherworldly encounter. Hey! Woody, tell me, how was it? He seemed strangely calm about all of it. If some guy smiling, and he said he was gonna meet him again, some guy smiling like that, hung out with me, and then I talked about it, made a big deal about it, and then he also said he was gonna meet, I would be worried about that every single night of my life for the rest of my fucking existence. But we get into it, guys. He comes back. And speaking more to that negative side, not everyone was buzzing with excitement over the rumored encounter with an extraterrestrial. As Woody tried to return to normal life, he quickly realized that his encounter with Indrid was only the beginning. Of course, guys, little did he know, the real nightmare was about to unfold at his own doorstep. Why did you have to make such a big deal out of it? Even me talking about it, I feel like I'm gonna get harassed. I'm scared to make this video. That's how much of a pussy I am with this shit. I don't care about demons, ghosts, but aliens and intelligence communities. I love making videos about them, but I'm afraid they're gonna come after me. After the initial interview with WTAP-TV the day following Woody's encounter with Mr. Cold, Woody's story spread like wildfire. Newspapers picked up the story. The Raleigh Register placed it on the top of their front page just 2 days later. The Cumberland Evening Times in Maryland also featured a column about Woody's encounter on their page 5. Woody Derenberger became a local legend, a household name in the area, which is a small area, but it happened overnight. And living in the small town of Mineral Wells, it wasn't long before people discovered where he lived, and he got doxxed and swatted a lot. Just kidding, but actually, from that moment, his home was no longer a sanctuary. At all times of the day and night, people would come and visit Woody, desperate for interviews and answers. News stations swarmed every part of Woody's life. Everyone wanted to talk to the guy who had allegedly seen an alienoid. As you can imagine, the situation quickly spiraled out of control. Even late at night, strangers knocked on his door, begging him to retell the story that they had heard 1,000 times. When everything first started happening, Woody and his family tried their best to accommodate the curious visitors, but they then quickly found out the negative, parasitic, bizarre nature that parasocial relationships can bring, and they learned to not do that. But at one point, Woody's wife was even serving cookies and engaging with guests who were eager to hear more about her husband's encounter with Indrid. One evening after work, Woody would return home and find a long line of cars parked on the road, all waiting to hear his story. The crowd in his yard was massive. He estimated 150 people, a proper fucking crowd of strangers that scared his wife and children, who felt increasingly unsafe with the continuous presence of just strangers all the time. And the constant harassment extended beyond that, obviously. Woody's son faced ridicule at school, with classmates calling his family liars, accusing them of fabricating the story for fame, because we've seen that. There was that little kid who his parents said got taken away by those balloons at one time, and he was actually just in the house. That shit was crazy. It's happened a lot. There's been many stories that have been fabricated for fame, money, clout. It was just bad. Woody had become harassed in his own home, and no semblance of normalcy seemed to be within reach. And his family, himself, his children were all at the end. But luckily, Indrid Cold came back and made another visit and paid them another visit, guys, to make everything better. Or it just furthered the mystery and fear. Late one night, around 11 p.m., Woody Derenberger came home to find Indrid Cold waiting for him once again. This time, Indrid wasn't alone. He had brought a friend named Carl Ardo. Clearly a made-up name. That's a bullshit name. Sorry, Carl, I don't buy it. You're not a human. You're a monster. Look at this son of a bitch. The three of them sat in Woody's yard engaging in a conversation that defied all logic and earthly understanding. As they talked, the atmosphere grew more and more surreal, similar to the first conversation that Indrid had with Woody. Indrid and Carl then invited Woody to see their ship up close, and he was intrigued and excited by this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. By the way, I wouldn't do that. I don't know if you guys, if a alien guy that looks like this came up to you and was like, hey, want to check out my craft? I don't think I would. I'd be like, oh no, that's fine. That's fine. I actually, there's a lot of poop in my ass and I have to shit really bad. So unless you want me to like shit in it. But he eventually, for some reason, followed them to the mysterious craft, the same one that he had seen before. And when they reached the ship, they asked Woody if he would like to come aboard and explore the interior. Woody, despite his apprehension, could not resist the chance for more fame and harassment, apparently. Inside the ship, Woody was met with sights that were beyond his comprehension. Yet again, this guy cannot comprehend much. One particular feature that caught his eye was a bright blue panel. Driven by curiosity, he reached out and touched it. Instantly, the door shut with a loud thud. Panic set in as Woody thought they were taking him against his will. However, Indrid calmly explained that Woody himself had triggered the door's closure. What an idiot. What a fool. He's like one of those henchmen turning knobs arbitrarily to seem busy in Austin Powers.
Not you, henchman, arbitrarily turning knobs, making it seem like you're doing something.
The realization that touching a button on this blue panel led to closing the door astounded Woody, because this is like the 60s. It's a long time ago. The doors were far too large and powerful to be operated manually, so there had to be some kind of sophisticated hydraulic system responding to his touch as if by magic. You know, this is before really computers that weren't the size of houses, and also before touchscreens and any of the cool shit we've got now, fellow iPad babies. Once Woody regained his composure following the door incident, Indrid posited an intriguing question. Hey Woody, if you could go anywhere, where would you want to go, Woody? Woody, for some reason, without hesitation, mentioned the Amazon jungle. The ship then vibrated, and astonishingly, the windows opened to reveal the Amazon below. It went beep, 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 beep. Woody looked down below and gazed in awe at the sight of the lush forests and winding rivers and villages teeming with life. I don't know if that's accurate for the Amazon, but that's what he said. So the sight of the Amazon from above was breathtaking for Woody. But luckily for Woody, the journey didn't end there. Next stop, the moon. The ship quickly transported to Earth's moon, guys. Here, they linked up with the mothership, or flagship, as they called it. It was a colossal vessel that dwarfed the one that they were in. You know, that little funny shape, when the little pregnant woman one. Woody marveled at the sheer scale of the flagship. It is advanced technology far beyond anything on Earth, which is super based, super red-pilled, also very scary. But next, guys, they went to somewhere even more extraordinary. That is Lanulos, Indrid Cold's home planet. They went to a gathering. And it is at this point I start to wonder how verifiable of a source of information this Woody guy is. This is starting to seem crazy. All right, but shit, I still believe him. I believe that son of a... Let's all have a little piece of ginger together, all right? It's good for the gut. So obviously this ship was traveling at speeds that defy human understanding, like everything else that's happening along here. And before long, they went to Lanulos. They arrived there. Apparently, Lanulos is a place of beauty and strangeness, and Arby's. There was Arby's there, which I thought was very strange and sort of unexpected. A bit of a right turn I wouldn't have expected. A red herring, I was gonna say. We have the meats. Arby's. I love Arby's. Do you guys like Arby's? Most people hate Arby's. Comment down below what you think. Woody saw vast fields, dense forests, clear rivers, all on Lanulos. Some gatherings, as they call it, all bustling with life, busting with life. Woody also noticed cars hovering without wheels. They were hovering smoothly above the ground, people going about their daily lives, all very handsome and slick. All right, guys, beautiful, beautiful outfits. He wondered to himself, are all these people gay? Indrid introduced Woody to his wife and children. Seems like bullshit. They greeted him warmly. The Cold family was strikingly normal, yet everything about their world felt different, particularly the way that they looked. They visited apparently this place called Number 27 Gathering, a city that showcased the technological and cultural marvels of Lanulos. Woody saw stores, factories, all similar in purpose to those on Earth, but operating with an efficiency and elegance that was out of this world. Yeah, it's pretty good. Anyways, during their exploration, Indrid asked Woody if he would like to meet another Earth family who had been brought to Lanulos almost 40 years ago. That's kind of scary, to be honest. People getting kidnapped. Anyways, Woody declined, luckily. He felt a strong sense of duty. He declined, saying that he wanted Earth to be more like Lanulos. He would leverage the knowledge and advancements of this otherworldly society to benefit humanity back on Earth. What a good guy Woody was. With their tour of Lanulos complete, it was time for Woody to return to Earth. I just want him to rip him up a little bit. I feel like Indrid Cold looks so creepy and scary, but it's more like a Richard Byrd situation. You go to the center of the Earth and everybody's really chill, you know? I feel like the dark forest theory is the only reasonable explanation for life outside of Earth, you know? The dark forest theory, very scary. I feel like an Indrid Cold in a dark forest theory would be so scary. I don't like people that look like this. You know, joyous people. Anyways, Woody boarded the spaceship once more and they made their journey back to Earth, landing safely around 10 p.m. So yeah, this is all real, by the way. This all actually happened according to Woody Derenberger. His journey to Lanulos offered him a profound glimpse into alien society that is unlike anything here on Earth, guys. A profound glimpse that no one else has ever been able to see, except for me, every night against my will in my dreams, right? I don't like aliens and they always visit me in my dreams a lot. And T-Rexes as well, a lot of those. Woody described the people from Lanulos in his book, Visitors from Lanulos. He said that they lived in a utopia free from the concepts of hate and secrets. Their ability to communicate telepathically apparently led to no secrets, because no thoughts could be hidden. It fostered a community built on transparency and understanding and smiles. It was also a classless society. Everyone lives equally there. Leaders were seen as no better than those who perform manual labor, such as digging ditches. They even dig ditches on Lanulos. There was no hierarchy, no class division. There was an absence of greed and an abundance of resources. Money had no value. Instead of being paid by the job, individuals were compensated based on the size of their families, ensuring that everyone had enough to meet their needs, which is pretty cool, I guess. I mean, what are these, commies? Because like it's starting to sound like they're commies, and I don't know if I like that. So, as anyone in the 60s would do, Woody asked them with some earthly skepticism, "Are you all communist?" The Lanulosians explained that they lived by the free will of the people, whatever the f that means. Their system was not driven by an ideology, but by a collective commitment to the well-being of all, which I guess makes sense. And like, you know, on paper, that a lot of ideologies work really, really well. But when you mix human nature in there, if everyone could communicate telepathically and you could just hear someone's thoughts and then decide whether or not you want to kill them with a stone because of their thoughts, because I feel like most people's thoughts, if you could hear them, you would want to kill them with a stone. I don't know, that's probably just me. I feel like if people heard my thoughts, they'd want to kill me with stones. Just kidding. Also, just to make matters even worse and really brag even more, the people of Lanulos were extremely attractive and physically fit. No one was under or overweight. Woody attributed this all to their healthy lifestyle and diet. And also, Ozempic. That's where Ozempic came from, Lanulos. The people of Lanulos live long lives, often surpassing 100 years. Nudity was also the norm. Huge 8.5-inch cocks on average. Shit was incredible. I was there with Woody. Me and my friend Woody went to Lanulos a while back. Clothing in their society was only worn for protection against the cold or during certain jobs that required it, such as working in factories where there were, you know, you would required to be wear be wearing heat protective gear or like, a sandblaster. Anyways, in spite of their alien ways, the Lanulosians engaged in activities that seemed familiar. They worked, played sports like volleyball. They had various means of relaxation, for example, like wild apes, wild chimps. Their relationships, though, are quite different from those on Earth. Casual flings are unheard of on Lanulos, so the like apes is not a real thing. But if a couple found themselves incompatible, they could amicably find new partners. I don't know, dude. They're pretty cool. It just shows you, if they are real, that there is quite a commitment to harmony, and, all that's based on understanding. And guys, I think I might be a Lanulosian at heart, or whatever. If it's real, of course. I don't know, the jury's still out on whether or not it's real. The people of Lanulos truly did not understand the concepts of war or hatred. Those concepts were equally as alien to their society as their concepts are to our society. Their society was free of conflict, filled with mutual respect, and it left a lasting impression on Mr. Woody from Mineral Wells, West Virginia. Summarizing their way of life, Woody often reflected on how these Marxist aliens lived in a state of natural harmony, walking around naked and devoid of the conflicts that plague Earth. Their civilization, though strange to him, was a beacon of what humanity could aspire to be. A world without war, hatred, or inequality. And also a world with fear. Look at this guy. Are you shitting me, dude? If this guy appeared at any point and didn't make himself known before, I'd just blast him. I would just start beating him, blasting him, and knowing him, he's probably got like a black belt in Lanulosian Taekwondo or some shit, so he'd probably kick my jaw out of socket, and then he'd be like, I'm sorry, but I saw that coming before you even did it. It's because I can speak telepathically. Your thoughts, they're mine. Die, white boy. I'm tan. So Woody's encounter and experience with the people of Lanulos and Injured Cold, which I didn't see the Lanulos shit coming. I'm not sure if it's normal to see a alien and then just expect that the story eventually goes on to a guy abandoning his family to go visit a planet Lanulos to hang out with Marxist aliens. This first sighting occurred only a few weeks before Woody's encounter in October 1966, but in New Jersey instead of the Ohio, West Virginia area. So, 2 young boys reported seeing a strange man in a metallic green suit leaning on a fence. Intrigued, they approached him only to be met with a huge, unsettling grin. He was happy. Not a lot of happy people in New Jersey. The man also began to chase them, which is very scary. The boys fled in terror, as boys would when a smiling, metallic-suited green man would that would make me run as well. This report coincided with several UFO sightings in the area as well, which added a layer of mystery to their story and a layer of validation, I guess, because you got like cross-referencing. It's kind of cool. A lot of cross-referencing in the UFO world. Plus, the description provided by the boys was chillingly similar to Woody's account. The man was over 6 feet tall and dressed in a sparkling green coverall costume that shimmered and reflected the street lights. There was a wide black belt around his waist. He had a very dark complexion and little round, real beady eyes set far apart. Look like this. They also noted the absence of hair, ears, and a nose, and couldn't recall if he had hands, whether or not, which is pretty wild. Imagine not having hands, dude. So yeah, the mold of this fella definitely fits the mold of Injured Cold, although the boys didn't know it at the time. The second sighting after the boy sighting is more contentious in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, only about an hour south of Parkersburg, where Woody and his family had an encounter. A family reported experiencing poltergeist activity in their home, and amidst these strange occurrences, their daughter claimed to see a man at the foot of her bed. She described him as a tall, broad man with a sinister grin, and he walked around her bed, and as she hid under the covers screaming, she peeked out. He was gone. This actually happened to me, but he was like a big man, and he was shimmery. He was all shimmery and like he wasn't really real. I was just he walked in my door. Like, my bed was like this, basically. It was like this way, and then the door was right there at the end of the room, and he just went and then walked over to me, and then I like and then I flew off into space and shit. It's crazy. I don't know if it was real or just a hag dream or whatever they're called. Sleep paralysis. I have a lot of sleep paralysis, so it's all good. Unlike the other encounters with Injured, this one took place inside and involved poltergeist-like phenomena, which is sort of dissimilar to the other two, obviously. Cold was typically seen outside and never displayed such magic powers other than telepathic communication. The only similarity was the man's height and grin, leading many skeptics to believe that it was more likely related to the stress of the poltergeist activity or perhaps a case of sleep paralysis, because it would be unreasonable if otherwise. Nonetheless, the description of the man definitely expands the lore of Injured Cold. Which I like that, okay? I will point out the elephant in the room and say that these sightings seem more contradictory to the Injured Cold that we've grown to understand from the story of Woody. If true, why would Woody hate kids and want them to die and stuff? Because he was so nice to Woody, and he literally took Woody back to his home planet and was like, look at all these naked people, check this out. And then like he just chases children around and takes his nose off and has no hands. That's weird. Who is he? Is he an alien? Is there a more human explanation to these encounters? I have no idea. What the fuck? The story of Injured Cold is cool though. I really like it. It's one that's been on the back of my mind for a long time. And actually we got him in a little project we're working on, a little Injured Cold project. Not exactly, but like sort of vaguely, not really actually. Anything. There's this creepy man who smiles who's not from this world. So anyways, let me know down below, what do you guys think? This is real or fake? I think it's real. I believe it. The story of Injured Cold to me is fascinating and perplexing. I love being able to see legit interview segments and actual, documentation in regard to shit. I generally have a skeptical perspective, but I always want this stuff to be true. That's where I'm always coming from. I want everything insane to be true. There's an eerie quality to this story that I would like to see what you guys think. I don't know. The attempt at mimicking human facial expressions, the friendliness. I don't know, it's weird. What do you guys think? This part of the story is where things get really interesting, okay? Because we go back to the 1960s. We get this guy, Woody, who talks about it. He goes and takes interviews. This is 20 years after Roswell. This is when the government is actually starting to take UFO stuff pretty seriously. They're looking into it. The CIA has their own little UFO investigative journalist operation thing going on. There's propaganda. There's a bunch of fear. There's a bunch of just misinformation. And from the time around the Injured Cold sighting and Woody's massive publication of all this stuff, there isn't that much evidence. But in a Raleigh Register article 2 days after the Woody encounter, it mentioned that an Air Force spokesman said to the Raleigh Register journalists that the investigation for this incident would be referred to higher authorities in Washington or the UFO Investigative Center. But the results of the investigation, if they ever even happened, were not something that we could locate with our just simple Google searches. But a declassified CIA document from January 7th, 1967 titled 1966 Good Year for UFO Reports includes a PDF of a Syracuse New York Post Standard article detailing notable UFO sightings from September and October of 1966. It describes November, the month of Woody's encounter, as the most important month of the year for UFO sightings. This is an official CIA document. To be clear though, it does not directly mention Woody's encounter. Here's another document right here. An Air Force UFO fact sheet that details extensive investigations into UFOs between 1947 and 1969. Of the 12,618 sightings reported, 701 remained unexplained. In 1966 alone, there were 1,112 sightings and 32 of those remained unidentified. This is big because the government couldn't even be like, hey, that's just a weather balloon flipping upside down from China that's playing H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds and causing mass hysteria. Or more reasonable explanations for debunked sightings that included material objects, balloons, immaterial phenomena like lightning, or astronomical objects like stars, fucking ball lightning, all that shit. Those lights, what are those lights called? I forget. Either way, these explanations don't really touch the Woody Indrid, to be honest, because like he had him roll down his window and was like, how are you doing? Would you like to come to my planet? Yeah, big difference between all that debunked shit and asking a truck driver what a city is. That's crazy. So in the end, attempts to investigate Injured Cold's appearance in 1966 seem fairly sparse. A 417-page annotated bibliography on UFOs prepared by the Library of Congress in 1969 includes a few lines related to UFO ground-level activities in Ohio and West Virginia. These all between October 1966 and January 1967, which is the general time frame of the Woody encounters. But there's still a massive lack of in-depth investigation. So there's just enough information out there to leave some room for belief, and just enough lack of information out there to leave room for skepticism. This is probably why this whole thing is still a debated encounter. Even Woody's publisher shared their thoughts in the note to the end of Woody's book, Visitors from Lanulos, where they claimed Injured Cold was real flew a flying saucer and had connections with the CIA and NSA, posing as an FBI agent and threatening their employees. These claims, however, are statements we could not research, nor could we confirm, because that's crazy. That's crazy that this is the end of the book. So how the fuck does anyone confirm or debunk this? I know I've been kind of tongue-in-cheek, facetiously saying, that seems real, you know, when I don't think any of this is real, but like, why? I mean, I guess it's just fake for clout. I'm not sure. I'm talking about it right now, and it's been 60 years, so yeah. Anyways, let me know down below what you guys think. Once again, go to sour.gg, buy some candy, go to gump.club, become a member, all right? Contribute to the channel. We get cool, uncensored videos, and you get a say. There's awesome stuff on there, and we're going to keep on adding more and more and more stuff, and hopefully making more and more high-quality videos as time goes on, guys. So yeah, anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, press the like button, and I'll see you in the next one.